Good morning everyone, welcome to Craft. In this video I would like to talk to you about epoxies, resins. What are they, how are they defined, what are the difference between them, and in general, just what the heck are we talking about when we talk about epoxies and resins. This is not a high production value, shiny, fancy video with a lot of cuts and pictures and explanations. This is just a talking head video from a shack by an artist to an artist, okay? Now, we had a poll a couple of weeks back and you guys wanted to see a explanation video on what are the different kind of epoxies and how to use them. So, I spent last week on researching how they make this stuff, what are the different manufacturing methods, and what are the different kinds, not the brands, not the types, the different kinds of epoxies, resins, which are in the market. So in this video I just want to explain what are they. I'm not gonna go into how they are produced, because I read several studies and articles and production pipelines and workflows, and they are full of hardcore chemistry, right? And they're very complicated, and I don't want to make this video about that. Rest assured, I'm gonna give you a brief idea of the making process. We're gonna go through the different kinds, so the different types of epoxy resins that are out on the market. And I think I will talk a little bit about their qualities, their aspects, and their what's the word in English? Anyway, it doesn't come to me in English, so I'm gonna give you a little bit of an overview or how they act and behave. Okay, so that's gonna be today's video, and yeah, I really hope I can give you something you can use for the time you're spending here. I also want to give a shout out to the people who support me on buymeacoffee.com. It means the world to me that somebody actually thought that they want to throw their money at me and make sure that I will stay very well caffeinated and I can buy food for my puppies. It is really humbling, you know. I never expected to get this much support, and for that I am eternally grateful, and I am humbled, and I don't know how to say thank you or how to accept anything. I have a really hard time with asking for help and accepting help. So this is a big thing for me to say thank you, and yeah, you all crazy people. I don't know what's wrong with you. Why do you want to help me? These are the thoughts I have in my head right now on this. So anyway, I would like to thank you who support me on buymeacoffee.com. These people are Marcy, Adam, Wendy, and Amanda. You guys helped me learn how to start accepting positivity and support. So it's just not it's not just the coffee money you sent me. It's helping me to learn about the world and myself and stuff like that. So anyway, I don't wanna make this way too long. And I also would like to thank Lisa for becoming the first member of this channel, because apparently we have channel memberships. I have no idea how it works, and I have no idea what kind of benefits you get and what I need to do with that, because I just became a partner with YouTube, and I basically have to click through dozens of pages of terms, conditions, setups, what to do, when to do, how to do, what to click, where to click. So bear with me, guys. I'm working on it. I'm trying to figure it out myself. So that's And last night at 1 p.m. we passed the 2,500 subscriber mark, which is insane. Like, our football stadium here on the little village, on the island, in the little village where I live, it cannot fit this many people in there. 2,500 people who want to see the stuff I make and want to hear what I think. It's crazy. It's a lot of people. You're gonna need 125 buses to fit all these people in. You know how many is that? It's crazy. So thank you everyone from the bottom of my heart, and I should stop rambling and we should get on with the video because you are spending your precious time here and I'm rambling again. So let me have a sip of coffee. Let's put the show on the road, right? So I want to start out with the definitions, okay? We need to define, we need to explain a few words, define terms, just to have a common understanding that we are talking about the same thing, you and I. And I think that is the basic rule of understanding and avoiding misunderstandings and avoiding conflict. Define our terms, okay? Now, I went on the internet and I tried to look for definitions for these words, and everything came up with a highly technical way of explaining things. So I decided to translate it from scientist language to everyday human speak, because I'm a farmer's son, I'm a simple boy, I don't like fancy and complicated shit. I like when people tell me straight what's what. And if I can explain something to a 5-year-old, then I have an understanding of that thing. Not that you are a 5-year-old, again, as I said in a previous video, I don't mean that. What I mean is the simpler you can define something, the more you understand the thing. So I came up with some definitions. First of all, let's define epoxy or epoxy. Now, epoxies are, and I'm gonna read my own handwriting here, so bear with me, okay? So epoxies are any class of adhesives, plastics, or other materials that are very strongly bonded. It has a very specific molecules, other things, stuff made of. So it has a very specific and way of bonding the similar types of building blocks together, and they are combined in a very, very good structure, and they are very, very rigid and hard. So epoxies are any kind of adhesives, plastics, or other materials that are very strongly bonded, similar particles. So basically any class of adhesive and plastics which are very, very strongly bonded together can be called epoxies or epoxides, because this is a kind of material. Now, let's define resin, okay? There are two very different kind of resins. First of all, you got the resin from the tree, okay? The sticky material which you can set on fire and it makes fire, ooga, you know. Yeah, coffee is kicking in. So, resins are solid or liquid, synthetic or organic, so it's artificially made or found in the nature. So synthetic or organic compositions used as a basis of plastics, adhesives, varnishes, etc. So resin is a base material which are used in creating plastics, adhesives, varnishes. Now, in epoxy, the base material it's artificial resin. Okay, and that is just a composition of different kind of chemicals, which create a very specific, which was made with very specific building blocks, built in a very specific way, and that's where the epoxy starts out from. English is very hard. I am really trying to put this together, but I'm having it here in Hungarian and I'm trying to put it here in English. So if I don't make sense, please just drop it in the comment section if you have any further questions, and I will try to give you an explanation or tell you more about it. So basically, long story short, epoxy is made out of resin and other chemicals to make that very hard plastic thingy. Okay. Now, these are the basic definitions we need to know. And next, I want to talk about applications. Next I want to talk about the different kind of brands and different kind of stuff. So epoxies are basically, there are two main ways to create epoxy resin, okay? And the two ways to create epoxy resin are the different processing methods, how they create it in a factory. In the end, when you have the bucket in your hand, it's not gonna be different pretty much at all from each other, right? The chemical composition and the procedure how they make it will basically end up with the same qualities, similar qualities, but there's only a few ways you can make epoxies, right? And all of them are aiming to have the same properties in the end. That's what I'm saying. So you don't have to go deep in how this epoxy was made, how this epoxy was made. You don't have to do that. Okay, so it's not gonna be that hard to figure out a way to work with epoxy resin. You don't have to go into what are the chemical compounds, how it's made. Two ways, what I found, and I'm not gonna go into detail, but because that's a whole different can of worms I don't want to open right now. So the two ways they are made basically will result in similar results. That's the word. So they're gonna end up with a similar result. So therefore, I'm not gonna get into that. You don't have to worry about that whatsoever. Okay? Because the properties of the final product is always listed on the label. Maybe truthfully, maybe not that truthfully. You know, marketing speech, they always try to swirl it around to make it sound better than it is. So for that, you have to go experiment or listen to other people who test that stuff. And never listen to people who sell that stuff, if you know what I mean. And yeah, epoxies are usually made in a few big factories and then sold in batches to companies who put their label on it, okay? And maybe add a few little additives to change up the stuff, but yeah, basically they come from the same place. Simplifying it, extremely simplifying it, but you know what I mean. So yeah, that's something you should know. Okay, so maybe the $10 epoxy came from the same factory that the $100 epoxy came, but this one put 2 drops of A in it, that one didn't put the true 2 drops of A in it. And this one has a fancy label and this one doesn't have the fancy label. Okay, so bear that in mind. Cheap epoxy is not always bad. Anyhow, rant over. Let's get back to the video. Okay, so the application of these epoxies. there are 4 different ways, there are 4 different areas where application is concerned. Surface coating, so it's when you are using a very thin layer of epoxy to create a layer which is creating a barrier between the base material and the external world. That's called surface coating. UV resistant epoxies. So if you need to use epoxies which are hard or good against the sun, they use that in generally in like high volume. They use it on boating and automotive industry, or everything else which is being exposed to sunlight or UV light. Okay, now in everyday speak, you and I will probably use it UV resistant epoxies. Again, this is not UV proof, this is UV resistant. There's no such thing as UV proof. Okay, there's no epoxy which is 100% UV resistant. Okay, it's a spectrum. So what we use it for, it's art or creating jewelry, or basically anything we wanna use UV resistant epoxy for. A lot of companies put the label on UV resistant, and most of them are true, but it's in the spectrum. So when I say UV resistant, I can say, okay, so what happens when the epoxy is not UV resistant? It turns yellow and it turns brittle, so it starts flaking off. That's the worst. I know this because I live in Greece, and we have 360 days of sunshine. It's not as good as you think it is. So yeah, where was I? Yeah, so not UV proof epoxy, turns yellow, turns brittle, and very, very UV proof epoxy turns yellow, turns brittle. The only difference is one of them does it in 6 months, and the other one does it in 10 years, and the top layer gets yellow. So, and both of the tins have UV resistant on it. Okay, so yeah, don't always be a sucker for, oh, it has UV resistant on it and I'm gonna take it. Look for people who already applied it. I'm sure YouTube is full of people who use that resin, and ask them personally if they are not affiliated with that product. Make sure they are not affiliated, because you know what's gonna happen. Also, you can try testing it. Also, you can look for forums like Facebook groups, Reddit, and all those internet spaces where people people talk about things, talk about epoxies. Look for applications on that. So that's the UV resistance spectrum. Anyway, so that's the other kind of application where you need UV resistant. The third kind of application method is a fast curing epoxy. So fast curing epoxies are funny because this is also a spectrum. Okay, fast curing epoxies could be a 1 hour curing time epoxy, or it could be a 24-hour curing time epoxy. But we usually call fast drying epoxies with fast drying when after you pour it or after you apply it, it gets hard in a few hours. So it's going to be workable in the same day or early in the next day, in ideal situation. Okay, and I basically use this kind of epoxy in almost everything, unless I have a big table pour to do, which is I have some different kind of epoxy for that, but I use this medium viscosity, medium epoxy. So that's fast curing. Now, fast curing is also, as I said, it's on the spectrum. So if you need something that dries in mere hours, or if you need something that is still workable in like 2, 3, 4 hours, you need to make sure that you check the worksheet of the product, check the label. Most of the times they're honest on this part, because they don't want to, they're liable for that. The working hours, I mean. And the last thing, the last application method or application field for epoxies is deep pour epoxies. Now, deep pour epoxies are used where you need to use volume. And by volume, I mean a metric ton. You need a lot of epoxy. Yeah, you're gonna need a lot of epoxy, and you need it to dry slowly. And also, this is from a spectrum. Okay, some of them set off in like 3 days, and they're cured in 3-4 days, and some of them set off in about a week. And when I say set off in as many hours and set off in as many days, I mean the standard volume, what they measure it with, and the standard volume is such and such amount of thickness with such and such amount of size. It's always on the label, and they usually standardize, but yeah, we don't have to go into it right here. Now, these 4 applications have different curing times. You can pour them for a different depth. They have different time for releasing air or bubbles, and different UV resistance qualities and different hardens. So first, when you find the epoxy you're gonna need, you need to choose from the 4 application methods. Am I gonna be use it for surface coating? Am I gonna be needing it to be UV resistant? Am I gonna need it to be a fast curing, or am I gonna need it to be a deep pour? These are the first 4 choices you have to make. You choose, I don't know, a fast curing one. Okay, I'm gonna need a fast curing epoxy, and now I need it to, I don't know, I need it to be 2-inch thick, and I need good air release qualities. So I'm gonna go into the details of the qualities or the way it behaves. Now, after when you chose which kind of epoxy you need from the 4, you have to look for the curing time, how deep you can pour it, how long, or no, what is the air release quality of it. Air release quality is simply thickness. That's it. The thicker the epoxy is, the harder it releases the bubbles. It's hard, harder for the bubble to go up to the top. And the thinner the application method of the epoxy, like the inch of thickness, the thicker it gets. Simple as. Okay? So the deep pour, because you can pour that very deep, it releases the bubbles very, very easily because it's like a liquid like milk. Okay, that's the viscosity. Fast curing epoxies, they vary from honey thickness to double cream thickness. So yeah, that's something to use. And surface coatings are thick. And then you have to see the UV resistance quality of the application you found. So you have to see on the technical sheet how UV resistant it is. And if you are interested about it, they usually tell you about the hardness. The hardness ratio, it's a number with a letter next to it, and you have to Google that to understand what is the hardness on specific materials, because different countries have different regulations on this. And this is basically my rundown on what are the main types of epoxies and how to identify them and how to figure out what is good for you and what is not. Okay, now yes, this is a research. Yes, it's not simple, but once you understand the methodology, so once you understand the sequence of things you need to look for, it becomes easier. So first, you need to figure out where you want to apply it. It doesn't matter what it's made of, okay? It doesn't matter how it's been made. It doesn't matter, and you don't have to do a deep dive into its chemical composition. It doesn't matter. Most of them are made the same way, okay? Beer is beer. Some of them are ales, some of them are lagers, but beer is beer. Anyway, and you get drunk. So you find the application. Where do you want to use it? Choose from a type. Then look for the qualities, how fast it has to dry, how thick you need to pour, how thick it has to be, and so on and so forth. And then choose all the brands available for you, okay? See what people experiences with those brands. Choose maybe the 3 which you find the best, and find the cheapest. That's how I do it. And I think this is a good method of figuring out what epoxy to use. And that's basically all I wanted to say. I really hope you got something out of this video. Again, this is a half-an-hour video talking about epoxies. I had so much fun making this video, and I thank you for giving me your time watching this entire video. And yeah, I really hope that I left some value here and I gave some value to your life, because art is for everyone and it should be accessible to anyone. Please, if you have any questions, leave it in the comment section. It doesn't have to be related strictly to types of epoxies. If you have a project, if you have a problem with your project, leave it in the comment section. We have a lovely community here and we try to help each other out. Okay, and we will try to answer your question and so on and so forth. So yeah, leave a comment, give this video a like if you think it was valuable, okay, and subscribe if you're not subscribed yet, because that would be great help for me too. Okay, thanks again, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.